Hello, Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce members. This is Drew Camp, President and CEO of the Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce, here for our February 10th weekly legislative update. A few things that I want to touch on, starting with IEDA provisions and some bills and legislation that were dropped this week, and then also we continue to monitor. So the mega site program that we talked a little bit about that would be applicable to the mega site here south in Mills County did drop this last week. We're really still kind of assessing what that looks like. It's for certified sites of 250 acres or more. Obviously, Mills County being 1,300 acres clearly qualifies for that. So that's something we're going to continue to monitor. The biggest thing is what might we have to give up for that bill to pass. So that's something we have to have ongoing conversations with Debbie in the governor's office regarding, and just seeing if maybe there is some things we could do to move those things forward within the legislature, and the likes of obviously Senator Dawson and Bobby Kaufman and Brent Segrist and others chairing in the Ways and Means Committee. So that's something we'll continue to have conversations about because of the impacts it can have for the certified mega site we have south of us here, and the partners, Mid-American Energy and others, who did a lot of work to make that happen for mega projects of $1 billion+ to potentially have a landing site here in our backyard. Also, IEDA has a technical bill out there. Some of the key provisions within that is really to put back into effect the angel investor tax credit. That's important for folks, obviously, investing in venture capital, startup companies, equity ventures, things along those lines in their investment strategy. It can be very beneficial for those folks to have that angel investor tax credit to fall back on and kind of push the investment in those entrepreneurs and startups, which we need to make sure that we're growing our own in the entrepreneurial and small business ecosystem here in Iowa. Also looking at some reformatting and some changing of things with the renewable chemical production tax credit as well. There's also the major government consolidation bill. It's almost 1,600 pages. Key provisions and areas we're watching there are IEDA and IFA, obviously, in Debbie's operation, but then also Iowa Workforce Development, some other pieces with Board of Education and things like that that could impact School for the Deaf and other local entities. So that's something we continue to monitor as well. One big piece of positive news last year, well, really the last 2 years and then into this year, we really have been pushing for medical malpractice reform. It's a huge talent retraction and retention issue for the hospitals and healthcare providers here in the community, and we were able to get it over the hump this week. It actually passed and is headed to Governor Reynolds' desk. Originally, the cap was at $1 million for non-economic damages. It did get bumped up to $2 million for it to pass, but that just makes us competitive and gives us at least a cap that we did not have before. So I know that Dave and Ann and their staffs at our respective hospitals are very excited about this, as they should be. It's a long and tough task to get something like this done because there's a lot of political issues embedded within it. So we were really happy to see it get over the finish line, and thank our members of the House and Senate for doing that. And the governor, it's one of her priorities, so she'll sign it into law as well. The trucker tort reform does still sit out there. That one is going to be a little harder. This session has been very wacky insofar that we're a month into it, but there's already been some extremely polarizing issues, such as the voucher bill, this property tax assessment issue, which I'll touch on here in a little bit, Med-Mal, a lot of these issues where there's a lot of different political implications into that, and it really has caused a little bit of tension, I guess you could say, within the first couple of weeks of the legislative session. So it's really going to come down to how much will and political capital and such that there still remains for major issues, because we've already had so many of them come across the finish line or have to be handled in the first month of session alone. Trucker tort might be a little bit harder to pass because they're very close, especially in the House, on having votes for that. There also is that property tax reform that I referred to a little bit. I'll start with the fact of the assessment issue, that 1.8% in residential rollback. It's going to be upwards of $800,000 to $1 million, $800,000 to $1 million for the city in projected revenue that they were going to receive and recognize in their certified budget here in the next month or two. So that's something that does have a major implication because it changes the planning and the budget process for them. So that's something we continue to watch. Again, that's something that had a lot of swords drawn and a lot of tension about as well, just as advocates advocated on that issue, knowing that property tax reform is a bigger holistic approach was also on the table this session and into next and into the future subsequent years. So that's something that's taken some energy out of the building as well. So it'll be interesting to see once they kind of get over this assessment bill, which equates to about 137 million hit in city budgets and their projected revenue for FY 2024. So we'll just have to wait and see, excuse me, what happens with the ongoing discussions with property tax. We have seen bills dropped by Senator Dawson and in the House as well. So we'll see what happens. But as Senator Dawson has said, this is a multi-year approach. It's a staggered phase-in approach, similar to income tax. So we didn't necessarily expect it all to be done realistically this session anyways, but it'll be interesting to see what they're going to be able to do, because some of these other political ramifications from the first month of session could obviously have issue with these major issues such as property tax reform, government consolidation, a lot of these other big big ticket items that are sitting out there for debate in the last 2 to 3 months of session. So that's something that we're monitoring closely, because obviously those are things that were priorities for us, and we're standing alongside our public partners and our private partners, really trying to make sure that we can have a good conversation of what property tax reform needs to look like. With that, that concludes our legislative update for the week of February 10th. Again, we'll come back next week with another update. And then in 2 weeks from today, on the 24th, we'll have another legislative roundtable over the lunch hour from 11:30 to 1 p.m. at the library. Again, that's on February 24th. And then the following month, I believe it's March 25th, that's the fourth Saturday. We're going to do the piece where we open it up to everyone, have it at Wilson Auditorium. It'll be at 9 a.m. on Saturday, the 25th, I believe the date is, in March. So we will be excited to see how that's received and how people like that approach, where it's a more open and on a Saturday where more people may be able to attend. So we're happy to do that for our members and community. So with that, I will conclude this week's legislative update and just say thank you very much for your ongoing support of the Council Bluffs Area Chamber of Commerce. Have a nice rest of the day.